Hare Krishna, welcome to all devotees. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrutyam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tatajayam Udiret Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavate Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Naistiki. Hare Krishna. Today we continue Srimad Bhagavatam Canto 4, Chapter 13. Dhṛtarāṣṭra quits home. Shloka number 8 and 9. Yudhishthira Uvacha
युधिष्ठिरोवाच
Api Smaratanah Yushmat
अपि स्मरथ न युष्मत्
Pakshat Chaya Samedhitan
पक्षछायासमेधितान्
Vipadganat Vishya Agni
विपद्गणात् ईश अग्निः
Agni Ade Agnatam Mochitaha Yat Samatruka
आदेः मोचितः यत्समात्रकः कया
एक मिनिट
वृत्त्या वर्तितं वशः चरद्
कया वृत्तावर्तितं वह चरद्भीक्षितिमण्डलम्
शरद्भिः क्षितिमण्डलम्
तीर्थानि क्षेत्रमुख्यानि
तीर्थानि क्षेत्रमुख्यानि
सेवितानि इह भूतले।
सेवितानि इह भूतले।
युधिष्ठिर उवाच
युधिष्ठिरोवाच
अपि स्मरतनः युष्मत् पक्ष
अपि स्मरथ न युष्मत्पक्ष
छाया समेधितान्
छाया समेधितान्
विपतगणात् विष अग्नि आदेह
विपद्गणात् विष अग्न्यादेः
मोचिताः यत्सम समातृकाः
मोचिताः यत्स मातृकाः
कया वृत्त्या वर्तितं वः
कया वृत्त्या वर्तितं वः
चरद्भिः क्षितिमण्डलम्
चरद्भिः क्षितिमण्डलम्
तीर्थानि क्षेत्रमुख्यानि
तीर्थानि क्षेत्रमुख्यानि
सेवितानि इह भूतले।
सेवितानि इह भूतले।
युधिष्ठिर उवाच अपि स्मरत्न युष्मत् पक्ष अपक्षत छाया समेधितान् विपदगणात् विष अग्नि आदेः मोचिता यत्स मातृकाः कया वृत्त्या वर्तितं वः चरद्भिः क्षितिमण्डलम् तीर्थानि क्षेत्रमुख्यानि सेवितानि इह भूतले। साधु संग
युधिष्ठिरोवाच
प्रभु जी।
अपि स्मरथ नः युष्मत् पक्ष छाया समेधितान् विपद्गणात् विष अग्नेः देवः मोचितः यत्समातृकाः कया वृत्त्या वर्तितं वः चरद्भिः क्षितिमण्डलं तीर्थानि क्षेत्रमुख्यानि सेवितानि इह भूतले।
आशीष प्रभु जी प्लीज रीड। प्रीति माता जी प्लीज रीड।
हाँ हाँ एक मिनिट। प्रणाम माता जी।
प्रणाम।
युधिष्ठिर उवाच अपि स्मरत् नो युष्मत् पक्षछाया समेधितान् विपद्गणाद् विषाज्ञान्यादे मूर्छिता यत्र मात्रकाः कया वृत्ता वर्तितं वश्चर्दभिः क्षितिमण्डलम् तीर्थानि क्षेत्रमुख्यानि सेवितानि भूतले।
हरे कृष्णा।
हरे
Translation and
कृष्णा।
purport by the Srila Prabhupada. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Maharaj Yudhishthir said, my uncle, do you remember how you always protected us along with our mother from all sorts of calamities? Your partiality, like the wings of a bird, saved us from poisoning and arson while traveling on the surface of the earth. How did you maintain your livelihood? At which holy places and pilgrimage sites did you render service? Purport by the Srila Prabhupada. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Due to Pandu's death and early age, his minor children and widow were the object of special care by all the elders of the family, especially Bhīṣmadeva and Mahatma Vidura. Vidura was more or less partial to the Pandavas due to their political position. Although Dhṛtarāṣṭra was equally careful for the minor children of Mahārāja Pāṇḍu, he was one of the intriguing parties who wanted to wash away the descendants of Pandu and replace them by raising his own sons to become the rulers of the kingdom. Mahatma Vidura could follow this intrigue of Dhṛtarāṣṭra and company, and therefore, even though he was a faithful servitor of his eldest brother Dhṛtarāṣṭra, he did not like his political ambition for the sake of his own sons. He was therefore very careful about the protection of the Pandavas and their widow mothers. Thus, he was so to speak partial to the Pandavas for preparing them to the sons of Dhṛtarāṣṭra. Although both of them were equally affectionate in his ordinary eyes, he was equally affectionate to both the camps of the nephews in the sense that he always chastised Duryodhana for his intriguing policy against his cousins. He always criticized his elder brother for his policy of encouragement to his sons, and at the same time, he was always alert in giving special protection to the Pandavas. All these different activities of Vidura within the palace politics made him well known as partial to the Pandavas. Maharaj Yudhishthir has referred to the past history of Vidura before his going away from home for a prolonged pilgrim journey. Maharaj Yudhishthir reminded him that he was equally kind and partial to his grown-up nephews, even after the battle of Kurukshetra, a great family disaster. Before the battle of Kurukshetra, Dhṛtarāṣṭra's policy was peaceful annihilation of his nephews, and therefore he ordered Purochan to build a house of lac at Varnavat. And when the building was finished, Dhritarashtra desired that his brother's family live there for some time. When the Pandavas were going there in the presence of all the members of the royal family, Vidura tactfully gave instruction to the Pandavas about the future plan of Dhritarashtra. This is specifically described in the Mahabharata Adi Parva 144. He indirectly hinted even a weapon not made of steel or any other material element can be more than sharp enough to kill an enemy. And he who knows this is never killed. That is to say, he hinted that the party of the Pandavas was being sent to Varnavat to be killed. And thus he warned Yudhishthir to be very careful in their new residential palace. He also gave indication of fire and said that fire cannot extinguish the soul but can annihilate the material body. But one who protects the soul can live. Kunti could not follow such indirect conversation between Maharaj Yudhishthir and Vidura. And thus, when she inquired from her son about the purport of the conversation, Yudhishthir replied that from the talk of Vidura, it was understood that there was a hint of fire in the house where they were proceeding. Later on, Vidura came to disguise to the Pandavas and informed them that the housekeeper was going to set fire to the house on the 14th night of the waning moon. It was an intrigue of Dhritarashtra that the Pandavas might die all together with their mother. And by his warning, the Pandavas escaped from through a tunnel. All this was also unknown to Dhritarashtra. So much so that after setting the fire, the Kauravas were so certain of the death of the Pandavas that they announced of death with great cheerfulness. and during the mourning period, all the members of the palace became overwhelmed with lamentation. But Vidura did not become so because of his knowledge that the Pandavas were alive somewhere. There are many such instances of calamities, and each of them Vidura gave protection to the Pandavas on one hand, and on the other, he tried to restrain his brother Dhṛtarāṣṭra from such intriguing policies. Therefore, he was always partial to the Pandavas, just as a bird protects its eggs by its wings. Vidura went out from the palace to detach himself from the household affairs, especially political intrigues. As referred to here in before, he was practically insulted by Duryodhana's calling him a son of Shudrani, although it was not out of place to talk loosely in the case of one's grandmother. Vidura's mother, although a Shudrani, was the grandmother of Duryodhana, and funny talks are sometimes allowed between grandmother and grandchildren. But because the remark was an actual fact, it was unpalatable talk to Vidura, and it was accepted as a direct insult. He therefore decided to quit his paternal house and prepare for the renounced order of life. This preparatory stage is called Vanaprasthashram, or retired life for traveling and visiting the holy places on the surface of the earth. In the holy places of India, like Vrindavan, Haridwar, Jagannath Puri, and Prayag, there are many great devotees, and there are still free kitchen houses for persons who desire to advance spiritually. Maharaj Yudhishthir was inquisitive to learn whether Vidura maintained himself by the mercy of the free kitchen house Chatras. Om Agyanatimirandasya ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरोः श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवान् च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सगणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्री राधा कृष्ण पादान सगण ललिता श्री विशाखान्वितांच नमो ओम विष्णु पादाय कृष्ण प्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी निति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात देश तारिणे वाञ्छा कल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद
Hare
हरे
Krishna,
कृष्ण
Hare
हरे
Krishna,
कृष्ण
Krishna
कृष्ण
Krishna,
कृष्ण हरे
Hare
हरे हरे राम
Hare
राम
Ram,
राम
Ram
हरे
Ram,
हरे
Hare
हरे
Hare
कृष्ण
Krishna,
हरे कृष्ण
Hare Krishna,
कृष्ण कृष्ण
Krishna
हरे
Krishna,
हरे
Hare
हरे राम
Ram,
राम
Ram
राम
Ram,
हरे
Hare
हरे
Hare
हरे कृष्ण
Krishna,
हरे
Hare
कृष्ण कृष्ण
Krishna,
कृष्ण
Krishna
हरे हरे
Hare Hare
हरे
Hare
हरे
Ram, Hare
राम
Ram,
राम
Ram
राम
Ram,
हरे हरे
Hare
हरे
Hare
कृष्ण
Hare
today we continuing Srimad Bhagavatam Canto 1 chapter 13 Dhṛtarāṣṭra quits home. We try to understand shloka number 8 and 9. Here they describing about how the Vidura came in Hastinapur and King Yudhishthira welcoming him, and after welcoming they describing about all the details about what they do in pilgrimage site, how they take their prasadam. All these points are describing. Prabhuji will tell us in detail. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna,
Vancha
Hare
kalpatarubhescha
Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Hare.
So Vidurji, after a long pilgrimage, has come back to Hastinapur, and he has been very appropriately welcomed. And we saw yesterday how, as a Vaishnava, we should be welcoming the guests. How we treat the guests reflects on our Vaishnavism on our personality and how Krishna expects us to have loving care, loving mood whenever there is a guest who is coming. So Vidurji, he was given appropriate rest. He had taken his food, and then when he was seated peacefully, comfortably, Yudhishthir Maharaj, being the leader of the group of the assembly as a king, started speaking. So this very first word, Yudhishthira Uvacha. Now there were many people who were sitting out there. There were queens. There were Kunti Maharani. There was Dhṛtarāṣṭra. There was so many other people. But still, it is Yudhishthir who spoke. A king represents Krishna, and he is the one who has to take care of all his subjects, just like their own child. And hence, Yudhishthir Maharaj spoke on behalf of everyone. And what does it say? He does not say who, what, where, how. First of all, he reminds Vidurji of his good acts. He tells him how he was always protecting the Pandavas and their mother Kunti from all sorts of calamities. He acknowledges that, oh, you were partial to us, just like wings of the bird who tries to save her kids. Oh, Vidura, you saved us from poisoning, you saved us from arson. And after praising, he then wants to inquire about when he had left Hastinapur and was on the pilgrimage, how did he maintain his livelihood? He wanted to know all the things about the holy places, the pilgrimage sites, and the services rendered. So these shlokas, they make us understand about how a Vaishnava has to be, how a person working for Krishna has to be. Due to the death of Pandu at an early age, the minor Pandavas, the children, the widow, Kunti Maharani, they had to be given special care by all the elderly family members of the family, and especially Bhīṣmadeva and Vidurji. And that is why Vidurji is called Mahatma. And he was more or less partial to Pandavas. Now Krishna says that I am equal to everyone. Name priya asti, name dvesho. But then immediately later on he says, for the bhaktas, I am very special. Similarly here Vidura. Now Dhṛtarāṣṭra was also careful for the children of Pandu, but then he wanted to wash away the descendants of Pandu so that his own sons become the rulers. And that is why he was intrigued. So Vidurji, he was a faithful server of the eldest brother who was now protecting the throne. But he did not like the political ambition. And so he gave special protection. Now love is expressed in terms of protection as well as in terms of curation. Srila Prabhupada ji explains here a very wonderful aspect that he was equally affectionate to the nephews. So on one side his affection was in the form of protection. On the other side, it was in the form of chastising so that they can give up their wrong policy against the cousins. He even criticized Dhṛtarāṣṭra for his policy of encouraging his sons, but was always alert. And everyone in the palace knew that Vidura was special protector of the Pandavas. Maharaj Yudhishthira reminded all this remembrance, and hence he wanted to express his special gratitude. Gratitude is a very important quality for a devotee. It brings about the humility. It helps us understand how grateful we are to everyone. It makes us Trinadapi Sunicha. So we should always be thankful to everyone, because knowingly or unknowingly, everyone aids us in our journey back home, back to Godhead. Even if any relatives have been opposing us, friends have been making fun of us, they are indirectly making us understand how futile it is to be in this Dukkhalaya, which is a Shashvatam. And so, subconsciously, it is increasing our resolve and making us continue. Krishna says that he takes test of his devotees. So initially he will take away everything, trying to ascertain whether you are really serious. But then he gives back everything, just like it happened to the Pandavas. Dhṛtarāṣṭra wanted peaceful annihilation of his nephews. And that is why the Lakshagraha was built at Varnavat. Puruchan had built that house. And then Dhṛtarāṣṭra asked them to go there and live for some time. But Vidura immediately instructed Pandavas what was the plan of Dhṛtarāṣṭra, and he made a very specific hint. He said that it's not that only weapons of steel or material element are required to kill. There can be other weapons which can be more sharp to kill an enemy. And he who knows this is never killed. So if you are aware of whatever can be the circumstances in which you can be troubled, whether in personal life, in professional life, in spiritual life, you always take precautions. Because we all know prevention is better than cure. We all know a stitch in time saves nine. So we take all the possible precautions to save ourselves from all circumstances. And that is why Vidurji mentioned this here. And then he gave instructions of the fire. And he also informed that fire cannot extinguish soul, but can annihilate the body. Because Krishna has also said the same thing. And he is going to say again for Mahabharata, it's going to be a next chapter. But one who protects the soul can live. So this body is to protecting the soul. So Prabhupada ji again gives us a hint on the importance of maintaining even our physical body. This body does not belong to us. It is Krishna's gift to us. And we have to utilize it in the service of Krishna. The Maharani is very, very simple lady. So she couldn't understand this conversation. But then Maharaj Yudhishthira understood and told what is going to happen. And then a specific input was also given that they were going to be burnt on the 14th night of the waning moon. And this information helped the Pandavas to escape through the tunnel unknown to everyone. And while Dhritarashtra performed the last rites, in fact rejoiced during the morning, Vidura did not mourn because he knew that the Pandavas were alive. So every time Vidura protected Pandavas. And this proves that he was partial. And the example given is that of the birds protecting its eggs by the wings. But then there is a limit to which a person can actually face such circumstances. So Vidura one day left the palace to detach himself from household affairs, especially these political activities. He was in fact insulted by Duryodhana because he called him a son of a Shudrani. And that is very, very wrong. Though it was a fact It was an unpalatable talk to Vidura, and so he considered it as a direct insult. So he decided to quit the house, the palace, and he prepared for Vanaprastha so that he could travel, visit the holy places, and learn more about the ultimate objective of human life. So Prabhupada talks about Vrindavan, Haridwar, Puri, Prayag, and how there are people who ensure that prasadam is given to anyone who visits there. Now, Prayag, we are going to be having Kumbh Mela from coming Tuesday, and ISKCON has decided to give prasadam to all the visitors there. And we are going to be distributing over 4 lakh Bhagavad Gitas there. So we have to accordingly ensure that we also support those who are going on Vanaprastha. We think that we are the protector of our loved ones. Especially as parents, we think that we are the ones who are taking care of kids in best possible ways. But as Maharaj says, this is a false claim. We will be very carefully maintained, but no one can guarantee that there will be no danger on the surface road as well. So our plans to protect or annihilate do not act, but whatever Krishna thinks of doing actually happens. He is the only supreme father and mother, the ultimate protector. And he declares in Bhagavad Gita, Pitaham asya jagata mata dhata. It comes in the 9th chapter. Pitaham asya jagata mata dhata pitama vedyam pavitram omkara rukasama yajureva. I am the father of this universe, the mother, the support, and the grandsire. I am the object of knowledge, the purifier and the syllable Om. I am also the Rig, the Sam, and the Yajuvedas. So every time there is jeopardy ahead of us, it is only by Krishna's mercy that we are being saved. He is the ultimate protector. He is the supreme truth, the controller, the super soul. Even Prahlad Maharaj accepts it in Bhagavatam. बालस्य नेह शरणं पितरौ दृसिंह नार्तस्य जगत मुदवन्ति मजन्तो नो तप्तस्य तत्प्रीतिवर्धर्य इह अंजश्रेष्ठ तावद विभो तनुभृताम त्वद उपेक्षितानाम. So he says to Nrsimha Bhagwan, my dear Lord Nrsimha, O Supreme, because of a bodily conception of life, embodied souls neglected and not cared for you, by you cannot do anything for their betterment. Whatever remedies they accept, although perhaps temporary beneficial, are certainly impermanent. For example, a father and mother cannot protect their child, a physician and a medicine cannot relieve a suffering patient, and a boat on the ocean cannot protect a drowning man. And that is why Prabhupada ji rightly emphasizes that there is always an endeavor for relief from various kinds of suffering, but none of them are guaranteed. They may show temporary beneficial, but no permanent benefit. The only permanent benefit can be given by Krishna. Everything is dependent on the free will of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So our only duty is to surrender unto Him, seek His protection, and then He will always send Mahatmas like Vidura in our life who will guide us and ensure that we are protected as per order of Shri Krishna.